today's episode of PJ and the Beard, we're going to talk about a guitar that has some pretty unique features. But before we get into the guitar, I'd like to ask you to consider subscribing to the channel, clicking on the notification bell. Your interaction with us helps us interact with great people. In this case, PRS via zZounds. We got in the Hollowbody Piezo. And the Beard's going to tell you about what we're going to do with this video.
Yeah, so this is another of the SE guitars that we're looking at. We've already done this guitar, and so I can put a link up here to another video we did on this one specifically that really focused mostly on the magnetic pickups. Mm-hmm. I think you have one clip where we tapped the piezo a little bit. But we were like, well, we haven't really done that justice. We need to come back. I wanted to come back and kind of dive into the piezo pickup a little bit. And so let me tell you how the guitar is set up, how that works really quick. And then we'll just jump into the clips. And this should be a pretty quick one.
You've heard that before.
Right. We have 3 knobs, tone knob down here in the bottom, right? So your first knob is your magnetic pickup knobs. Your second knob is your knob for your piezo pickup, which is under the saddle. It's the acoustic guitar pickup, if you would. On the bottom bout here, we have 2 outputs. One is a mixed piezo and one is a magnetic, which this is interesting when we watch. If you go back and watch the first video, I looked at that and I was like, huh? Like you can see me stumble when I look at it because on my McCarty Hollowbody,
it's different.
It's different.
2 outputs with a toggle.
Right. So that has a way to turn it off. So it has a piezo only. This has a mag only. So here's what's interesting about this guitar. If you're plugged into the mix piezo and you run out to an amp, if you roll up this volume knob, you get the piezo pickup. If you roll up this volume knob, you get the magnetic pickup. Now keep in mind there's an active system here, so there's a battery back here. If your battery runs out, you lose everything. And that's not where you want to be. So then you also have this magnetic out that you can just switch to that, and then you only have the magnetic pickups, and that isn't in the circuit anymore. Which is cool. The other thing you can do, though, is you can plug magnetic out, run to the amp, and then out of your mixed piezo, run front of house to acoustic amp or whatever, and now they're separated. So one's coming out of the acoustic amp and one's coming out of your tube amp. So first clip, Pat.
Well, we wanted to see what it would do, so I think I started by having it with the magnetic pickup on first, and then I rolled it back to just the piezo, and then I blended them back together.
And you're coming out of the mixed piezo straight into the Tyler.
Yeah, into the amp. That's what it sounded like.
Staying with the Tyler amp, so we're just going straight out of the amp. I did the same thing. I think I might have did it different. I think I started on the piezo, went magnetic, and then did both. But anyway, trying to give you an idea of what that sounds like. And honestly, we've been talking about it a little bit. My opinion is the piezo pickup straight into a tube amp isn't really where you want to be. Right. But here's what it sounds like.
All right, so for our next trick, and to show you what this can do, as we mentioned, it's versatile. We went right out of the piezo.
It would still be the mixed piezo,
mag,
yeah.
But right to a DI into the Focusrite. And the first part of the clip, I just played it straight. We didn't really EQ it, we just played it. Thought maybe, hey, is this a little bright? What can we do for some tone shaping? Well, I have the TC Electronics body res. And the easiest way I will describe this is this is a tone shaping knob. And so I would say, bright to the left and more of a full-bodied, maybe jumbo-esque kind of guitar to the right. So I took a little bit of the top off, but I only went like a third of the way on here just to add a little bit of depth to it. And this is what we did.
So again, just going piezo out over to the computer. I tried to play something a little faster because what I noticed when you go into the tube amp and you have the piezo turned up loud and you move around, you get that
a lot of finger noise. Yeah.
Right, those really loud finger squeaks. And some really harsh, brittle stuff out of the tube amp. So I wanted to see, well, what if I just am cranking through some chords, something kind of a little bit faster? Does going that route kind of take care of some of that stuff? And so that's why I did this.
Okay, one thing I was curious to try, because there is a recording technique, obviously, where you stack tracks, and I've always found it interesting to have a clean and a dirty that match. Well, what better way to match them than play them at the same time? So the piezo mix was into the Focusrite, the mag was into the Tyler JT22, and the King of Tone Analog Man, because I don't do it very often, it's his. So I did chords, and then at the end, I did some lead line stuff because I was really curious to see what the acoustic sounded like just with lead, and then we layered the electric.
You were rolling it, right? You turned off the mag and then rolled the.
Yeah, I was 2 turntables and a microphone. I was blending it here.
So depending on how we mix it, you might hear it pop in between ears and stuff like that.
I think it'll be pretty obvious, but this is what it would sound like if you're trying to have drive on the amp and clean on the piezo.
So one thing that's interesting about this guitar, you might ask yourself, well, how are we sending just a straight piezo mix over to the computer and still sending then just a straight magnetic pickup mix back to the Tyler? So your mix piezo knob input, let's go with that. No, output, let's go with that. Your output, the mix piezo output, sending both until you plug in to the mag too, and then it cuts the magnetic pickups out. So the way we were sending over just acoustic sounds over to the computer is plugged into the mixed piezo one, and then what that happened once we plugged in to send back to the Tyler. So same thing, I had them both plugged in. This is, I think, where the guitar shines. Like if you're gonna take this and maybe front of house or whatever, DI box front of house through your piezo, and then your amps behind you, and then depending on what's happening when you're playing. Somebody commented on the video we did on this about how they just used it in a pit situation with like an orchestra with like a band for like a musical or something.
Makes sense.
Saved him saved me having 2 guitars, didn't have to have an acoustic and an electric. He just did that and was bouncing back and forth, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Cool idea. So I don't even remember what I played, but I know like, I think when I edit this, I'm going to cut out.
Yeah.
So
it was
you're
a little bit funky, I think. You're gonna one, both.
Oh yeah. So you're gonna hear like the piezo, the mag, back and forth, probably between your ears, just to hear the difference and hear it mixed together too. So it sounds a little bit like this. So between the configurations we just did and what we did in the last video when we focused mostly on the magnetic pickups, I think we've covered this guitar. There's a lot to cover in here. Final thoughts?
I thought it was interesting. I will tell you, just like I told you, if you watch the other video, I got to the end and I'm questioning my existence as a guitar player, because there's times that those pickups sound really bright to me. And then I hear them in the mix and I'm like, maybe not. So it's interesting, and I love the fact that it has both. I play music at church. We have an acoustic guitar player some of the time, not all the time. It would be interesting to have something like that set up. Just to be a true transparency here, we didn't do a lot of tone shaping here, right? Like other than the body res, there was no extra EQ. Everything was just in. So if you've got all your stuff, you can tweak both of them as far as you want and have them as 2 separate signals. That's interesting. If you're a real tweaker and you want to really get that acoustic to be where you want it, you want to throw some delay on it, some verb on it, there's options.
Running into like some kind of preamp,
right?
2 preamp or something. Yeah.
You can do a lot. Like you can really do a lot. We just kind of did the basics for the most part. I think it has a place. I'm still, as much as I say I love options, I end up going simple. I'm thinking in the middle of a song at church, I'd probably roll the wrong knob and lose my guitar completely. But I love what it offers. I said in the first video, it's a looker. It's a good looking guitar. It's got some interesting features. For me, I'm just trying to figure out the pickups. I'm just being honest, but I've said before, my tone might not sit right in the mix sometimes. So these pickups could be voiced in a way that's mix friendly, but not single guitar demo friendly, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
But I like it. I like the idea.
Yeah, I like it too. And like I said, my McCarty, 2001 McCarty has that kind of going on, and have used it in that very way, where front of house out of the piezo and back to my amp, and then switching back and forth between the two depending on what's going on. But not something I do on a weekly basis, monthly basis. I mean, it's happened like a couple times. Right. Like we had a real need. I think one time we both were doing like an acoustic thing, and I actually just played that and plugged it in. So the acoustic isn't bad. It sounds pretty good. Yeah,
I'll say that we'll put an affiliate link there, because I'm blanking on the price, but for what it is, I'm going to say like $1,300, but don't quote me. You click on the affiliate link, you'll see that it's not just a sales pitch. It's just because what's packed in that guitar for the way it looks and the price point is pretty friendly for what you get. Well, and then somebody did say the obvious that another person commented on the other video and said, boy, they thought the pickups were a little bright too when they first got it. And they rolled the tone knob back and click, and it's fine. So, like, there is that, right? There is another knob down here. It's the tone knob, but we were so befuddled by these that we just. Right. So, yeah, I'm with Pat. Looks great, plays great. And if you find somebody that could benefit from having an acoustic and electric all in one, this could be your guitar. Like you said, a pit band, a wedding band, house of worship. Yeah. You could be in a Rush cover band, and you could be Alex Lifeson without the guitar on the cymbal stand.
Right. So, could be it. Always take a moment to say, hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for clicking the subscribe button, notification bell. Anytime you interact with the show, that's what helps us make cool relationships with people that help us bring in cool gear to share with you. So it's a win-win, I think. And it's free. You just gotta click a button. So with that,
I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear.